That's not working yet. Hey team, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Looking forward to taking you through the live training session tonight. I'm just going to run through our training agenda because that's obviously what we want to do to start off. We're going to have a look at our top 10. So we're going to do a top 10 review of how our systems have performed, and we're tracking our top 10. I've basically gone in and split our top 10 into or our spreadsheet, our performance grid into the top 10, and then obviously those 10 that are sitting outside. So you'll see that as we go through the checklist tonight. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to do our weekly system review, so the best new system, and our portfolio review. So we're going to jump into the PME and have a look at how the systems are tracking in the PME, and just touch a little bit on how to best manage the weekly process in the Portfolio Manager Elite. We are also going to cover a little bit on member updates too. So a bit to get through tonight. We're going to jump straight into our new system. So every week we basically preview a new system, a system that we want to kind of share with you that one of the members has sent through or I've put together. And this week it's been a great contribution from Nick. So Nick is one of our longer term traders. He's been in the program for a while now, and he's done some really good work on his portfolio. So he's putting together a multi-system strategy on both crude and gold, because he's picked those markets because they're volatile. They offer good volume, good liquidity, and they've got good open interest as far as trading opportunities. So what we're having a look at tonight is we're having a look at one of the systems that Nick has been putting together. And what he's typically done is he's back tested the system and then allowed several months of forward testing and tracking on the strategy. So this one here is on a 17-minute chart. It's longs only, and it's doing beautifully. So this is over a 12-month period. So if we have a look at the format symbol section on TradeStation, you'll see that it goes back 12 months. It's a 17-minute bar, and basically we've got it set to exchange time. So when we're developing systems up or putting systems together, we always want to have that set to exchange time, because if I send this to, or Nick sends this to me, then I know when I open my performance report up that I'm getting it set to default exchange time. So it just makes it easier to calibrate. So from here, we're going to have a look at the performance report. So we're going to critique the system. Now, I know that the system's been tracking really well. It's got 21k of profit over that period. It's running at almost 50% strike rate, which is pretty good. 59 trades, so it doesn't trade a lot every week, but it's got a really good average trade net profit, 355. Now, let's put in slippage and commissions, because that's one of the things that we want to do with all of our strategies. So we'll add that in, and we do that into the properties for all. So we'll add in $2 for commission and $20 for slippage. We'd put in 20 because we want to make sure that this thing is very robust, and gold sometimes does have a little bit more slippage than some of our other markets. So let's have a look. See, it really hasn't impacted on the overall strategy, has it? So there's our common slippage. So we've got that factored in. We know that our drawdown has pushed up to 1604. It was 1100. That's okay. It's got really very small risk as far as portfolio risk, and we're still sitting at $311 average trade net profit. And the great thing is our profit factor is 3.10 as well. The other thing that I'm looking for is our risk to reward. So have a look at that. Your average winning trade is 969, and your average loser is 282. So you're almost at 4 to 1. It's 3.43. So that is fantastic. So as far as critiquing the new system, this new system on Momentum 11 looks fantastic. And what I'm going to be doing later in the week is I'm going to be showing you the gold multi-system strategy, because we've got a lot of systems running on gold now. You'll see from the performance grid. So within our portfolio grid or performance grid, you can see there Momentum 11 is sitting roughly around 6th spot in our top 10, so it's doing really well. So just been added. Obviously last couple of weeks haven't been great, but it's been very solid overall, and taken some really good profits. So it's looking good, and we have a lot of gold strategies now, so we have the opportunity to put these together and just to see how they're performing as a collective group. So that's a bit of an update on our latest system. The Momentum 11, as I said before, it'll be in our Dropbox folder, so definitely jump in and have a look at that. Looking forward to taking you through the next update, and let's jump into what we want to do now is have a look at basically our top 10 systems. So we'll go back to our performance grid here and just run through our top 10 systems. When you go into the system library, I'm going to start just pushing these into the failed trend. So we're getting a couple in there now. Week 16, so we've got our gold strategy, and then there's a crude one as well. So if you want to concentrate on just potentially trading a system, a specific system, you could trade multiple markets, or you could trade a market with multiple systems. So obviously going through and picking out the momentum system, and we have a number there that are trading on gold that you could use obviously there as part of your strategy. But this is great because what I was looking for is looking at putting together some of these multi-system strategies, and you can see that we'll start dropping those in. We'll add gold in, crude. We've got a couple on the S&P. So if we have a look at our top 10 here, I'll just bring that over. You'll see that as I start to update this spreadsheet, you'll actually see that we've got a couple. Gold is starting to fill a lot of the spaces in our top 10. We've got Clyde's got a couple of strategies there on the top 10, and probably I think there's a couple there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Clyde, you've actually got a couple there that aren't included in this list but are probably performing a little bit better. I know Pen 11 is tracking beautifully, so if I go to Pen 11 and I'll just open that up, it looks fantastic. See, onwards and upwards. It's got a great equity curve. You've got one that's tracking better, yeah, and it does look very good. It's got a fantastic performance there. So what we want to do is we want to kind of have a look at making sure that if we are looking at building a multi-system strategy on one market, like being an expert on gold or crude, definitely have a look at the multiple systems that we're starting to put together. So there's Nick's 17-minute. It's, as I said, it's a new strategy, so it would come under new. It needs to be tracked and forward tested and obviously tracked going forward. But small risk. It's looking really good, 17-minute, and as I said, you've got the first two systems of gold. You've got that strategy Momentum 11, another gold system, and you've got FT22 gold, all sitting there just in and just outside the top 10. So it would be nice to obviously get some more of the systems running on the S&P. We've got a couple here. So Pen 17, which is that Clyde breakout strategy, that's doing really well. It as I mentioned before, not a fantastic week last week as I start updating some of these strategies, but some of them have been tracking well, and it's just making sure that you've got your mix right, and making sure that obviously if I put these systems together, which I have done, and I'll show that in a minute in our portfolio, if we load the top 10 in our portfolio, the drawdown is too high. It's over $5,000 if we turn on all 10. So what does that tell us? If our top 10 systems are producing a good amount of profit, but our drawdown is too high, it's telling us that our risk is too highly correlated. So the systems that we have loaded in our top 10, like the gold, crude, the S&P, the US Treasury bonds, they're too highly correlated. So a lot of the time it comes down to the point that you're picking some of the best strategies and then developing systems that are going to help obviously with the overall max drawdown. So as I said before, the spotlight this week is going to be on, just before we flip over to our new system, hasn't really been a change to this list per se, except for this new strategy here. That there is a couple of others that I'm going to add in, but I don't think they'll I don't think they'll hit that in that top 10, but that's quite a new system and a new addition. It looks really good. So if we do have systems that on this list and fall into the top 10, they'll be in our Dropbox folder. If they sit outside of that, then you just need to access those within the actual system folder. Now remember, one thing that I'm going to do, and Mike and I have been working on, is we're cleaning up a lot of the ELDs. So I've got in here on this list, I'll upload this list, update this list in Dropbox, but I'm going to add in here which ELD is linked to which system. So most of you can access this through the All Systems ELD, but some of them have individual ELDs that we will access. So for example, the FT88, this failed trend, that's actually a separate ELD. So I've uploaded that to Dropbox, and you can access that through Dropbox in the top 10. So if you download a system in Dropbox, you can actually access that ELD. And what we're going to do, Mike and I are going to kind of go through this list and put all of our ELDs that sit outside the All Systems ELD, and put that into just one ELD. So when you get a sub update or you load your ELDs, they're all sitting in the one, obviously, file, so it makes it a lot easier. But as we produce more systems, then you're going to still have the situation where you're going to find that occasionally you'll have a system that sits outside of that just because it's going through some type of development phase. But once it's finished, then we'll add it to the All Systems update and send it out to our traders. So that's a little bit of a look at the top 10. As I said, like there's a fairly heavy weighting on gold and crude, and ideally we want some systems in there like the S&P 500, the US Treasury bonds. Coffee's been tracking really well for us. There's a couple of coffee strategies, but and long exactly. So there's a couple of coffee strategies that we've been using for the last year or so, and they continue to do really well. But I'll be updating those more a bit later on. So that's a little bit of a look at our top 10. As I said, the review today, or the new system that we want to put a spotlight on, is Momentum 11. It's on a 17-minute. It looks, as I said, it looks really good. It's available in Dropbox for you to have a look at. Courtesy of Nick, has done a fine job on that one, and it's worth having a look at as far as performance. But again, you've just got to make sure that it ties in nicely with your portfolio if you add it and start tracking it. The other thing that we're going to have a look at today is our Renko charts. Now I touched on this on the weekend, and look, the Renko, this custom Renko is quite a nice little. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with Renko charts. How many traders in the group have we got that have traded Renko, or who have been captivated by the construction of the Renko charts and like the idea of potentially pursuing Renko? Yeah. So Renko's great, but you've really got to make sure that these Renkos are set up properly, and that they're. And one thing that I've been speaking to a couple of the new traders that we have along who are heavy Renko traders. This new edition, so 9.5 on TradeStation, this allows you to have 3 types of Renko charts. So you've got the classic Renko. We all know what the classic Renko is. That's the basic brick foundation of the Renko. We have the mean Renko, and then we have a custom Renko. So the idea here is that if you're going to trade a Renko chart, you're picking a Renko chart that ideally is going to suit your strategy inputs, and ideally is going to suit your trading style and what markets you want to trade. But the most important thing is to make sure that you've got your basics set up for trading Renko. So ensuring that you've got enough data back, that you have it calibrated, that your offsets are correct, they're a ratio of your brick size. This one here is the custom Renko on crude at 0.5. Now, on this custom Renko, this is interesting because the actual custom Renko is quite a good chart to trade because it does a really nice job of cleaning out price action. But one thing that we have within our strategy that we kind of can't use with custom Renko, which we're going to modify, is we have the entry as next bar on open. So instead of having an entry where it's this bar on close, we have next bar on open. So for example, if I get a trade short here and my short triggers here, and I mentioned this on the weekend, then I'm going to want to go in on that bar, aren't I? Because if I've broken, well, let's go back one. Let's say that there's my break and close of the support resistance, because we'll stick with the trend because that's an easy one to qualify and be objective on. So if we get a price bar close below the trend and our custom Renko, remember the opening price, as long as with custom Renko, you have to move the value at which you set, so 0.5, on the opening bar to get a new print of a bar. So whatever value you select as your multiple, so 0.5 on this example, we have to move that distance for us to get a new bar print, and that picks up the trend. But what's interesting and what doesn't work with the trend, which we need to modify, so I would suggest that if you're viewing videos on the custom Renko or the Renko or the custom Renko specifically, we need to modify the trend trader, which we're going to do, to take trades that refer to this bar on close. So if I get an entry here on the trend where price bar closes below my support line, and that's a definite trend trade sell setup, then I need to go in here on the close of this price bar, don't I? Would everybody agree with that? If I'm going to be accurate with my testing, I want to go in on the close, 41.20. I don't want to go then, I don't want to wait to the next, because what happens if I enter based on how the strategy is coded at the moment, which is next bar on open, what it's going to do is it's going to put the entry always at pretty much the highest point of the price bar. So if you have a look at the longs are always at the lowest point. Look at the shorts are at the highest point. So what do you think that's doing to the actual integrity of the backtesting? Like, the backtesting looks fantastic. Have a look at the equity graph. It looks really good. But what do you think the issue with the backtesting is as far as the entries? Yeah, they're not accurate. Yeah, so we have to have, with our code, we have to have this bar on close. So what we'll do is we'll get Mike to do that, and then we'll send it out to everyone once he's done it, and it'll be a special file called Renko, custom Renko, and you'll be able to test on that, and that'll give you a more accurate look at the custom Renko, because they do look good. You've got the wick, obviously, which gives you the high. It gives you a look at the high and the low of the price move. So it's going to pick up where price potentially is drifted outside of that brick but hasn't completed a full brick. Because remember that with Renko, custom Renko, mean Renko, and the normal Renko, if your price bar doesn't close one full brick, one full multiple setting above or below that value, then you're not going to get a new bar print. But you could have traded 4 points higher or lower on your brick, but you still won't see that. But at least with the custom Renko and the mean Renko, you're going to see it because it leaves that wick to show you exactly what's going on. So that's just a little bit of an improvement to the Renko charts. It's going to be interesting to see how they go with this improvement. I'm looking forward to seeing what the testing's like. From the testing I've done so far, the custom Renko looks really good, particularly on gold and crude and some of the currencies. So it'll definitely be worth having a look at that and monitoring that. Now, let's push on. So that was my spiel on the custom Renko. Any questions on Renko charts before we kind of move on? Yeah, okay, excellent. So the Nasdaq is a good little. The advantage there too is that it's a smaller market, so you're going to smaller values. So you're going to get, if we can get the actual execution a lot more accurate, and you guys can use that, then you'll find that you'll get some immediate benefits from that, because everybody's done a lot of work in Renko charts, so you know how to construct a Renko, you know how to put them together. It's just a matter of getting that auto entry right, and that'll definitely help improve the overall performance. So that's a bit of a touch base on Renko. As I said before, a couple of things that we want to make sure that you're doing is when we set up these new ELDs or these new systems, we'll be putting them into our Dropbox folder, so it'll be Platinum members, and you'll be able to go in, as I mentioned before, if we add in an improvement to, say, one of the systems, or we add in the Renko V2, we'll add that into the Dropbox folder, so you'll be able to download that ELD and just run that on your platform. So really, what should happen now is that if you are trading, if you're trading one of the systems, it'll either be a GMT All Systems. That's generally got most of the systems in there. If it's say, for example, the failed trend, then it'll have its own ELD, and I'll upload that to there as well. There's a failed trend elite. There's a couple of versions. There's a failed trend elite, and there's an earlier version as well. So you'll find that if you open up a system in our top 10, like Nick's system, for example, in the top 10, he's actually got a system that refers to an older version of the failed trend. So I'll make that, I'll put it in our top 10, but I'll add that here as well. So when you look at your spreadsheet here, this will tell you, this will be the key to what ELD you need to import into TradeStation. Now, if you do import something into TradeStation and you get that user runtime error, what that effectively means is that you haven't got access to the system. You just need to message myself or Mike, and we'll unlock that for you if it's appropriate. So just let us know, and then we'll kind of do a review and just unlock the system, and that way you can run the ELD and the sub update, and you're all ready to go. So let's have a quick look. I'm just going to pull this over a little bit and just move that over. Okay. Let's move that over there. I'm just going to bring up the portfolio because I wanted to show you exactly what was happening with this drawdown. So as I turn a lot of these systems on within our top 10, so if we go back to our Dropbox folder, if I turn some of these systems on with our top 10, you'll find that even though they're producing some really good profit, they're definitely not our best combination of systems. So that to me obviously means that when we put together a portfolio to track, you're going to have to go into either a multi-system strategy, so we'll start working on those. So Clyde made a very good point. It'd be great for us to all be contributing. So if you do have systems like Nick's done this week, if you've got strategies that you've got that are doing really well and have done well for a while, and you're happy to share them, send them through, please, because I'll add them to the spreadsheet. We'll track them, and what it does is it means that everybody can actually share in the the good work of our traders. So it's really handy to have have that facility and making sure that we're sharing within the group. It's much easier to do that. And as I said before, it'll allow you to build a multi-system strategy very very quickly, because Clyde's done a heap of work. Nick, there's a few traders here, Jan as well. There's a couple of guys I've got that have just started that have already started putting some systems together that we're coding up as well. So we've probably got about 4 or 5 systems that we're going to release as part of the group. So those systems, like a couple of them, are really, really good strategies. So and they're not going to be GMT ones. They're they're trader systems. So that'll be part of the when we release that as part of our obviously our group, our ongoing platinum group. So it's definitely handy, even if you're sitting on a couple of really good strategies like Nick's done recently. It just helps to build your multi-system strategy, because one of the things you'll find, you can load up this top 10 which I've done here, and look, it's like it's good profit, but the drawdown is too high. Like I've included there 6 out of our top 10, and our drawdown is way too high. Max drawdown is 5.7. So I would say that when you build your multi-system strategy, the more variation we've got in our systems, the better we're going to do, obviously, because if you look at the concept of campaign trading, where we look at adding in multiple varied strategies, the trend, the counter trend, the reversal, you've got, a breakout strategy. Those systems are going to work well together and help minimize drawdown, whereas a lot of these systems here are not doing that, because a lot of them are momentum based and they're longs only. So when we get a turn in the market, or the momentum starts to drop off a little bit, that's where you're experiencing a bit of a drawdown. So we need that kind of counter trend strategy as well as part of the overall momentum type systems. Because if you look at the ones that I've selected here, that's a breakout strategy, breakout. That's a momentum system. That's a failed trend. The coffee one is a momentum system. Another trend trader, breakout, trend, momentum type Viper system. So a lot of them are breakout or momentum systems. So we definitely need to have a little bit of a mix in here. And I think that once we start to finalize our price action systems, that's going to help us as well. So there's a lot of stuff happening that we'll be kind of releasing to you guys, and it's definitely going to help us build up those multi-system strategies. So I'd like to see us have not only multi-system strategies on different markets, but also on different systems. So you might have, say, a failed trend multi-system strategy where you have just the failed trend, and you use, say, crude, gold, the S&P, you use a number of markets. Whereas you might also have, say, for example, gold, and you might run, say, the failed trend, the reversal, the pin bar reversal, inside bar, a breakout strategy. You might run the momentum as well. So you can do so many things. Once you've got these systems and we're tracking them, you can put so many of these systems together as groups, and really kind of start to benefit from putting them together and seeing how their portfolio, how they track as far as a portfolio. So I guess the wash up of this is that even though they're the top 10, they're definitely not the best as far as risk, and a lot of it probably is led by a couple of individual systems that have the higher overall drawdown. So if we kind of take some of those out, then you'll see that the drawdown drops dramatically. So that's what you want to consider when you're kind of looking at these strategies. You want to say, right, well, what's my overall risk, and how can I eliminate the drawdown? If we load up, say for example, the momentum system that Nick has here, already we could say, right, well, if we added in Nick's momentum strategy, we know that the risk on that is about $1,100. So already that sits in our top 10 quite nicely. We know that the drawdown occurred on the 3rd of in July 2015. So any system we match with this strategy needs to have been making money last year during that period. And as long as our system that we combine with this one does that, then we're obviously in a fairly good position. So that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that we sit within our risk parameters, and if we are seeing a drawdown that is within our portfolio, we're just trying to kind of offset that with a better performing system. So guys, that's going to be kind of a bit of an update for me tonight. I'll confirm whether we're having a session on Sunday yet. We did have one last week. So if you can let me know if you're available Sunday morning, that would be fantastic to attend a session. It's more so, not more so, but it's to help our US traders as well, because obviously this time is fairly early in the morning for the US guys, and it's a pretty tough ask to be getting up at say 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning. So I know some of you do it, and it's fantastic. But let me know if you're available on Sunday, which is your Saturday evening, and I'll schedule something as well, because I'd like to do a second session. I'd like to have a little bit of a look at. Putting together a couple of these multi-systems, because we've actually got quite a number of systems on crude and gold, and I think we could probably put together a nice little multi-system strategy on one or both of those markets. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So stay tuned. As I said before, I will be recording Sundays, and I did record last Sunday, so I'll post up Sundays. I'll try to get Sundays posted up by Friday, and we touched on custom Renko. It was a little bit more of an informal one because we had a lot of questions, so it was actually quite good. It was more of a question and answer session, so it was quite interesting, quite good. So I would like to have it, because that way, you know, if you've had some questions during the week, or you want to kind of look at something a little bit different, we can allocate a bit of time on that day to go through some additional stuff. So it would be good to do that. So thank you for your time, guys. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Awesome, fantastic. Well, Gary, I was thinking, I know it's early, 8 a.m. on Sunday, because just to try and time with the US guys, because for those guys we don't want it too late, but 8 a.m. gets out of the way nice and early. We'll go for probably 45 minutes, and it's quite a nice little start to Sunday, and it helps us with our preparation for the week as well, because it means that we can do a quick review. You guys can get a bit of an update on what's happening and how the systems have gone for the end of the week. So then you're really kind of on top of your game for Monday. So it's quite a good little starter for the new week. All right, guys, thank you for your time. As I said, if you just shoot me an email, say yes, confirming Sunday. If I get a few that are keen to do it, I'll definitely run the session. All right, guys, thank you for your time. Have a fantastic rest of the week, and enjoy the systems. And thank you, Nick, and Clyde, and a few others that have been sending them through. That's great. Keep up the good work, because there's plenty more to come, and we want to build, as I said, we want to build some nice multi-system strategies going forward. All right, guys, thank you for your time, and have a good week. Cheers.